In a Christmas tree shop, a business deal between two men turns deadly after what looks like a smooth exchange. The receiver, Oleg, unknowingly inhales a tainted substance while checking the money. He starts coughing blood and drops down. Gone. His nephew tries to react, but the intruder shoots him without hesitation. He then sets the place on fire and secures the package he came for. On Christmas Eve, Ethan stays up thinking about the pregnancy test his partner Nora just took. It's positive. Nora wakes up excited, and while Ethan manages to match her mood, it's clear he's not as thrilled.
Okay, up. It's gonna be a busy one. Go make coffee.
On their way to work, Nora notices his mood. He brushes it off, but she encourages him not to be nervous. Ethan says he isn't scared, but he just thought a baby would come later, after a raise, a dog, maybe a better life. Nora reminds him she loves the life they have and the man he is, which softens him. At the airport, Nora makes a Christmas wish. She wants him to consider reapplying to the police academy, leaving him surprised. On the shuttle, Ethan wonders why. Nora feels it was the last time he looked excited about his future, always checking the mail. He reminds her he got rejected, but she also reminds him he only applied once and that he followed her to LA, got a job just to be close. He acts like he doesn't remember, but her smile says otherwise. She just wants him to think about it.
Thank you.
They arrive at the terminal, and Ethan promises to take her to Tahiti the next day before they agree to meet for lunch. As he walks off, someone bumps into him rudely. He shakes it off and, realizing the time, rushes to the security office where everyone greets him warmly. He's clearly well-liked, but he's late, and Mr. Swarovski, the supervisor, isn't surprised. It seems this isn't new. An officer announces an alert about fraudulent boarding passes, meaning extra security is needed. The team groans but gets moving. Meanwhile, Ethan's co-worker, Eddie, is still advertising his album. When he gets to Ethan, he jokes that everyone already knows about the pregnancy. Ethan confronts Jason, his friend and co-worker, about who he told, and Jason doesn't deny it one bit. Ethan lets it go and asks about Jason's family trip. The talk shifts to Nora's academy suggestion. Jason thinks it's a great idea, especially with the baby coming.
They break things, stain shit. It's a whole bunch of liquid everywhere.
I can do hard.
Later, Ethan approaches Mr. Swarovski asking for a promotion. Swarovski reminds him of his poor punctuality. Even when Ethan mentions Nora's pregnancy, he's not moved because he wants someone truly committed. Unfortunately, he shuts the door in Ethan's face. But Ethan doesn't give up. He follows him back in and makes his case, saying that despite his faults, he's good at what he does and only needs a shot. Mr. Swarovski is somewhat moved, but says there's no opening. Jason, watching from outside, offers his own spot to Ethan. Impressed by them both, Mr. Swarovski agrees. That morning, a man arrives at the airport in a truck. There's a bound man in the back. The driver sets up near the airport and begins hacking into its surveillance feed. Meanwhile, Ethan sends a text to Nora saying he has news. She smiles, and he begins his shift in a better mood. The man in the truck contacts his team. The spy reports he's watching the target's family just as the hacker discovers their target is no longer at the post. A photo shows Ethan instead. Their real target was Jason, and the spy urges them to find a way to get him back there. The team quickly checks Ethan's background, the spy steadily growing impatient, saying the family is leaving soon. The boss, disguised as a traveler, disagrees, saying that switching them back now is too risky, but the spy insists again. Finally, the boss tells him to head to Ethan's home. The job has to be done that day. At the security post, a woman hands Ethan an earpiece she claims isn't hers.
I'll add it to the lost and found.
As he heads to Lost and Found, a text message pops up in his phone instructing him to place it in his right ear. Curious, he obeys. A voice threatens Ethan and orders him to let a specific bag pass through unchecked. At first, Ethan laughs it off, thinking it's a prank by Eddie. But the voice proves it isn't, by giving out very private information that makes it clear that they are all under surveillance. His men are already at Ethan's home looking for leverage. The boss lays it out clearly. Ethan just has to let the bag pass. Ethan asks what's in the bag, but the boss lies, saying diamonds. Ethan doesn't buy it, but the boss doesn't care. He recites Jason's exact home address as proof he means business. When Ethan asks who he is, the voice says, "Just a traveler." Ethan tries calling 911, but the watcher alerts the traveler. He threatens Ethan with Nora's life, claiming she's at gunpoint. If the call continues, she dies. Ethan hangs up and locks his phone in Lost and Found. The traveler gently reminds him that all he has to do is stand still and let the bag through. Elsewhere, Detective Elena arrives at the scene where Oleg and his nephew were killed. While reviewing evidence, she finds a wristwatch with a hidden bug and decides to have it analyzed.
I know somebody who might be able to uncook it.
Back at the airport, chaos brews as workers deal with waves of impatient passengers. On his end, Ethan is barely keeping it together. The traveler warns him to stay calm if he wants Nora safe. To ease the tension, the traveler keeps talking and asks Ethan to respond. Ethan spots a chance to send a message through his smartwatch but gets caught. The traveler, once again alerted by the watcher, orders him to lock up the watch too. He accuses Ethan of lying, saying he's running out of patience. The fear on Ethan's face says it all. Elena meets a tech expert, Herschel, who retrieves a partial recording from the bug. The Russians come up, but Elena suspects more. Sadly, most of the data was destroyed, giving them little to work with. Back at the terminal, Ethan tries shifting the focus back on the traveler. But the traveler flips the script, bringing up Ethan's old dreams. In a twist, he encourages Ethan to try again, because life's too short to stay bitter. While the traveler talks, Ethan scans the crowd, alert and calculating. He spots someone suspicious, but before he can act, an impatient passenger interrupts. Ethan calls over Officer Lionel under the guise of needing help with the search. But truly, he's sneaking a warning about the situation. The watcher takes notice and keeps an eye on them. Ethan returns his focus to the suspect, but the man is gone. Right then, the traveler tells Ethan a story about a thief who stole to feed his children. Though forgiven twice, the townspeople didn't wait for the third before killing his kids. Ethan suddenly realizes Lionel is in danger. He rushes to warn him, but it's too late. Lionel collapses. Amid the chaos, Ethan spots the traveler walking away, holding the same note he gave Lionel. When Nora hears about the incident, she tries calling Ethan, but he doesn't answer. At the airport, Ethan sits alone, drowning in guilt. The traveler joins him, casually claiming Lionel died of a heart attack. Ethan knows better.
Family man like that, having a heart attack?
The traveler reads the note aloud, impressed by the detail. He asks how Ethan figured it out, and Ethan explains. The traveler seems amused until his face darkens again. He reminds Ethan that he wouldn't hesitate to kill Jason's twins if it came to that. He repeats the rule: let the bag pass. No questions. No resistance. Ethan agrees, but his dread over what's inside the bag only deepens. Ethan returns to his post, where Jason is temporarily filling in. He tells Jason he's ready to resume, but Jason points him toward Mr. Swarovski. Mr. Swarovski informs him that, due to Lionel's sudden passing, Ethan is being reassigned to his original position. Jason will be taking back his post. He adds that they can revisit Ethan's promotion some other day. As Ethan walks away, the traveler's voice crackles in his earpiece again, calm but threatening. He warns Ethan to find a way back in that seat before the bag arrives, or face more sudden endings. He reminds Ethan not to test him and to figure something out fast. Ethan studies Mr. Swarovski from a distance. The moment the supervisor looks away, Ethan bolts. He heads to the airport bar, grabs 2 small bottles, and mixes them into a cup of coffee. A coworker walks in, chatting about Lionel's death. Ethan, in a hurry, gently redirects her to someone else. He carries the spiked coffee over to Jason, distracts him with small talk, and swaps their cups before walking off. At the Lost and Found, just as he'd told Jason, Ethan drops off the cup and quietly sneaks out his phone. The traveler aids the distraction by engaging Mr. Swarovski elsewhere. But just as Ethan is about to screen a passenger, he sees Mr. Swarovski at Jason's desk, sniffing the coffee. The traveler had reported Jason. Within moments, Mr. Swarovski fires him, ignoring Jason's protests. As they pass Ethan, Mr. Swarovski orders him back to the post.
Ethan, you're back on 4.
What? What's going on?
Jason's eyes lock with Ethan's, sharp and accusing. Ethan can't bring himself to speak. The guilt eats at him, but he takes the seat anyway. Jason's former co-worker glances at Ethan and expresses that this whole situation feels suspicious, and it's not hard to guess where the suspicion is aimed. Before Ethan can respond, the traveler's voice cuts in, urging him to focus. The carrier of the bag, in a red cap, is approaching. Ethan's eyes track the man as he places a bag on the conveyor and walks through. At the same time, Detective Elena works relentlessly to decode the corrupted data from the wristwatch bug. The scanner at Ethan's station pings a warning, unidentifiable liquid detected. Ethan stiffens. Almost simultaneously, Elena uncovers that the Russians involved in Oleg's murder were seeking a highly dangerous bioweapon, one with no antidote. Alarmed, she immediately contacts federal authorities. At Ethan's station, the revelation hits him hard. What is he helping them unleash? He attempts to stop the man, but the traveler interrupts, quiet, sharp, and menacing, urging him to think about Nora. Ethan freezes, the weight of it all crashing in on him. He reluctantly lets the man go. Moments later, Ethan rushes into the bathroom and vomits in disgust. The traveler follows, calm and unfazed. He confirms Ethan's worst fear, that it truly is a bioweapon. Ethan is horrified, noting that there are about 250 people on that flight, but the traveler shrugs it off. He orders Ethan to put his phone down. Ethan pleads for the passengers' lives, but the traveler says everyone else will only be safe once the plane is airborne. Ethan retches again, the weight of the choice pressing down on him. The traveler instructs him to keep going and not to forget his lunch date with Nora. At Elena's office, a man from the federal team named Agent John comes around but remains unconvinced. Her evidence is too circumstantial. She pushes back, urging them to act, but they dismiss her again. Then a staffer walks in with new intel. A 911 call was placed from that airport from Ethan. Suddenly, everything shifts. At the airport cafeteria, Ethan meets Nora for lunch. She chatters about Jason's sudden firing and the rumor that he'd been drinking on the job. Ethan forces himself to appear calm, but his thoughts are far away. The traveler speaks in his ear constantly, reminding him to act normal, to listen, to smile, to eat. Nora notices something is off. Ethan tries to talk about his meeting with Mr. Swarovski, but when she insists again that he should follow his dreams, the traveler interrupts mid-conversation, pushing Ethan's patience to the edge. Ethan snaps, loud enough for Nora to notice. She looks at him, confused and hurt. He apologizes quickly, blaming stress. Nora, though still concerned, lets it go.
I'm sorry. That was too much. You're just trying to help me.
Forget it, it's fine.
She kisses him goodbye and asks him to call her at the end of his shift. Meanwhile, Detective Elena follows the trail from the 911 call. Lionel had previously reported no issues right before he died. Now she's convinced something bigger is going on. She and a federal agent head to the airport to question Ethan directly. They alert airport command, urging them to delay outgoing flights. The decision is met with anger and chaos from airport authorities, but Elena won't back down. Time is running out. The airport police immediately shut down all communication lines, and Mr. Swarovski begins issuing rapid orders for a random bag check. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan discreetly uses a hidden device to edit the checklist, replacing one name with that of the man in the red cap, the terrorist's accomplice. The watcher faces blind spots and fails to catch Ethan in the act. After the officers leave, Ethan spots Jason packing up to go. Jason approaches him, saying flatly that he knows what happened, and he's deeply disappointed. Ethan tries to explain, but Jason shuts him down cold, saying to never speak to him again.
And I know why you did it. I just didn't think you'd be that kind of guy, bro.
The words cut deep. Then the traveler's voice reminds Ethan of the task. Soon, the airport announcer begins calling out the names for the bag checks. When the traveler hears his accomplice's name, he immediately confronts Ethan. Ethan denies it, but the traveler isn't fooled. He demands Ethan sit down. Instead, Ethan rips out the earpiece and bolts. The traveler doesn't panic. Calmly, he instructs the Watcher to change Ethan's mind. As Ethan races toward Nora, the Watcher maneuvers his surveillance van to a new position, locking a sniper's red laser sight on Nora's head. Ethan tries to grab her and leave, but she's confused and angry, still upset about what she heard about Ethan and Jason. She demands an explanation, but then Ethan spots the red dot on her forehead. Horrified, he slips the earpiece back in. The traveler's voice is calm and deadly, ordering him to step away quietly. Ethan does as instructed, backing off without saying a word. Nora watches him go, heartbroken and baffled. Ethan rushes to the bathroom, vomiting again. Moments later, the traveler storms in, furious. He punches Ethan hard, then pins him to the wall, slamming him to the ground in a chokehold. Ethan's legs thrash as he fights back until he finally manages to grab the gun from the traveler's holster and point it at his head. Ethan orders him to ensure Nora's safety or risk getting shot. The traveler doesn't believe he'll do it until Ethan cocks the hammer and fires a warning shot just past his head. Shocked into compliance, the traveler raises his hands and pulls out a phone. But instead of making a call, he taps a button, activating the lethal weapon. Now, they all have 10 minutes before it goes off, killing all 10,000 plus people at the airport. Ethan demands he disable it, but the traveler refuses, asking Ethan to do it with his guidance. Ethan races to the bag screening room. Inside, he sees the carrier in the red cap speaking with Mr. Swarovski, clearly stalling to avoid opening the bag. The traveler gives Ethan a chilling order to shoot his boss, but Ethan refuses. However, under pressure, he storms in with his gun drawn, demanding that Mr. Swarovski back away from the case. Confused and alarmed, Swarovski tries to talk Ethan down, but the traveler keeps whispering in Ethan's ear, pushing him.
God damn it, Ethan, do it now!
Ethan lowers the gun, but that hesitation proves fatal. The carrier grabs a pen from the desk and stabs Mr. Swarovski in the neck. Blood gushes and Ethan rushes to him, but it's too late. Swarovski is gone. Enraged, Ethan tackles the carrier, who begs for his life. Through terrified sobs, he explains he's being blackmailed too. His husband is the man tied up in the Watcher's van. Realizing he's just a pawn, Ethan lets him go. Working quickly, he opens the case. The traveler begins giving instructions to disable the weapon, step by step. As Ethan follows the directions, an officer knocks at the door. The carrier, now revealed as Mateo, grabs the gun, ready to shoot if necessary. Ethan talks him down, and together they finish disabling the device a second away. The weapon powers down, and they exhale in relief. Elsewhere, Detective Elena and the federal agent are speeding toward the airport when a call comes through. Lionel's autopsy is in. His heart attack was induced. Finally, the higher-ups are convinced. They also reveal that 4 high-value targets are listed on the outgoing passenger manifest. Reinforcements are on the way, and they're sending Agent John Alcott to lead the response.
I'll ring him.
Agent John Alcott.
Elena stiffens, informing them that she's already with Agent John Alcott. It seems she's with the wrong guy. She glances sideways and sees a suspicious tattoo peeking out from his left wrist. Back at the search room, Ethan and Mateo quickly clean up. When the officer enters, Ethan says they were conducting a time-saving bag check on the supervisor's orders. The officer is skeptical, but eventually leaves. Mateo introduces himself, but before they can talk further, the traveler reminds them that the plane leaves in 30 minutes. Meanwhile, in the car still racing toward the airport, Elena pulls her gun on the fake agent. When he sees his cover is blown, his face changes, cold, menacing. He steps on the gas, speeding dangerously down the highway. Apparently, they've had spies in the security agency for days. Gunfire erupts, and their car swerves through traffic. Tires screech, windows shatter. The battle rages until the car flips off the road and crashes hard. The fake agent strangles Elena, nearly killing her, but she manages to get a clean shot that ends him. She calls her office to ID the body, then stops a car and borrows it to continue her trip to the airport. Meanwhile, Ethan and Mateo smuggle Mr. Swarovski's body into the automated area. The traveler calls Mateo again, this time with a message from his husband. He is to kill Ethan. Mateo draws his gun, but Ethan catches a glimpse of it in a nearby glass and reacts. A fight breaks out. The box falls to the floor, but neither of them notices. Gunshots ring out, raising alarm. Ethan warns Mateo to stop, but Mateo keeps firing blindly until a bullet ricochets and hits him in the throat, ending him. Ethan grabs Mateo's phone, unlocks it with facial recognition, and tries to call Nora. She doesn't pick up. Remembering Eddie's flyer from that morning, he texts the number and tells him to alert Nora about the situation. Meanwhile, the traveler kills an officer to gain access to a restricted area, using his access pass to make his way to Ethan.
Ethan? Ethan!
At the airport, Detective Elena finally arrives and pushes her way in. She asks an officer about Swarovski and Ethan. The officer, still suspicious after the Jason incident, radios the automated area. Elena orders a partial shutdown and places some flights under watch. The traveler gets to the automated area and starts shooting at Ethan, ordering him to bring the case or risk losing Nora. Ethan doesn't budge and runs. Furious, the traveler tells the watcher to finish Nora. But Ethan has already dropped the earpiece and the box, which the traveler then retrieves. Ethan hides among the bags, breathing heavily as the traveler walks off. Eddie reaches Nora and shows her Ethan's message. Before she can react, the watcher parks nearby and comes for her. Eddie tells her to run and tries to distract the watcher, but gets slashed across the ribs. The watcher then goes after Nora, who runs for her life. Elena and the officer arrive at the automated area and see signs of a fight. She tells the officer to report an active threat. Terminal 7 is shut down, but the airport authorities still refuse to cancel all flights on Christmas Eve. The traveler calls his people and orders a new courier since Mateo is gone. Nora hides in the parking lot as the watcher searches for her with a gun. He nearly hits her with the van, but crashes into another car, giving her a chance to hide. Meanwhile, Elena spots Ethan and tries to stop him. He refuses, saying Nora is in danger. She insists, so he knocks her aside, apologizing. As he rushes off, he quickly describes the traveler, the box, and the flight details. Down in the parking lot, Nora stays hidden as the watcher hunts her. When he passes, she grabs a bottle, smashes it on his head, and runs. She bumps into Ethan, who holds her protectively, but the watcher returns and raises his gun. Ethan quickly shields Nora and a gunshot rings out. However, it's the watcher who falls, gone for good. They look around and see Jesse, Mateo's husband, holding a gun. He explains that Mateo had 2 tickets, one to New York, the other to DC. Ethan realizes the target location may be different from what he told Elena. Elsewhere, the traveler sits calmly with the case. The same girl who gave Ethan the earpiece shows up and discreetly swaps bags with him. As she leaves, she wishes him a safe flight. In his new bag, there's a ticket and a parachute. The control tower tells Elena they'll assist however possible, but won't ground all flights, and she agrees. Just then, Herschel calls back with information on the fake agent. Realizing the threat is bigger than expected, Elena orders him to widen the search for suspects and targets. She also alerts officers to stop the terrorist based on her description, but he's already en route to board. Eddie is taken to the hospital, still publicizing his album. Nora leads Ethan to the baggage system to help track the box. Meanwhile, on the plane, the traveler struggles to stash the case. A flight attendant tells him it has to be stored properly. He notices something feels off about the box, but says nothing. Ethan reads out the bag number, and Nora traces it and notices that they've already boarded. She wants to stop the flight, but Ethan warns that the traveler will just wipe out everyone if he senses a threat. Instead, he asks her to find Elena and make sure the plane does take off. Guess he has a plan. Elena receives a call from Herschel. They suspect the real target is a congresswoman on a DC-bound flight. Elena instantly orders the plane grounded. Ethan rushes toward the plane as it prepares for takeoff. Just as the tower moves to act, Nora arrives and stops Elena. Elena listens, conflicted, as Ethan sneaks aboard. She decides to trust Nora and lets the flight depart. On board, the Traveler puts the weapon in standby mode. The moment Ethan opens the case, his phone alerts him that it's switched to manual control. He confronts Ethan and demands the weapon, but Ethan refuses. The Traveler fires a shot, injuring Ethan. Alarms go off in the cockpit, and the pilot announces the flight is returning to LA. Wounded but standing, Ethan stalls. He tells the Traveler why he failed the police academy. He once covered up a crime for his dad. The Traveler doesn't care, as he just wants the weapon and his parachute. He opens the case, but it's empty. Ethan stands before him, holding the weapon. He throws the case and the Traveler into a sealed fridge. As the glass container breaks, the deadly gas is released. Ethan wedges the door shut with his body. The Traveler dies inside, coughing up blood. The plane lands back in LA. Ethan exits through the same hatch he entered. Police swarm him, but Elena arrives just in time and clears him. She asks where the weapon is, and Ethan says it's in the fridge with the Traveler. She orders medics to help him. Nora rushes up, and they embrace in relief. Ethan apologizes to Elena for hitting her. She compliments his instincts and tells him to call once he's stitched up. 1 year later, Ethan, Nora, and their baby arrive at the airport as passengers. Jason and his family are with them, and things seem patched up. They're heading to Tahiti. While checking his bags, Ethan drops his badge. He's now a police officer in Los Angeles. He really got his dream job. Guess all that's left is that dog.